What's up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the Go Long Podcast, fueled by our good friends at Fatty Beer Company in Western New York. Drinking a little Alexander Keith IPA myself, Jim, but that's
Topo
neither here
Chico
nor
for me,
there.
Tyler. Topo Chico for me.
Topi Chico.
Ooh, okay. Let's get right into it, Jim. And I'm going to, this is one of those shows where I'm going to say a few words and then just get the hell out of the way. Like when we had Josh Lucas on, who you knew from your days with New Orleans Saints. We have a very special guest. Man, I've been pumped about this for the last couple weeks. Dave Boller, NFL, college football, XFL, UFL. You've been everywhere. You've seen everything. You've got stories for days. But Jim, I'm going to let you introduce Dave because you know him very, very well from the scouting trail.
Yeah, Tyler, you're right. This is a show tonight where hopefully we don't have to do much of the speaking. Our views on the Super Bowl have been documented. We're good. We got to get Dave Boller on, who, Tyler, the one thing we have in common, neither one of us has ever missed on a player. It's unbelievable. We both have never missed on a player. But Tyler, seriously though, I always think about when you look up, if you looked up a definition of a scout, and Dave Boller is what you would see and want to read about. There isn't a player coach probably playing in the NFL or in college football right now that he probably has a story about or has a connection to. That Kevin Bacon 6 ways you're connected, that you could do this with Dave Boller and every person in the NFL. So it is my honor to have Dave join the Go Long podcast tonight. Dave, how you doing out west?
Good. Thanks, Jimmy. Glad to be here, you guys. This is awesome, man. I don't know if anybody remembers me. That's what's scary. But anyways, I appreciate the intro.
So Dave, the reason you came to mind, we talk a lot, we still stay in touch. Um, Number one is we got to tell my favorite story, Tyler, with Dave Boller is we worked together in the AAF, which not a lot of people remember maybe, but it was quick. But we had the first pick of the draft. And who did
Yeah.
we take? Dave Boller. Who did we select?
Well, you know what we're lucky. He's still playing, isn't he?
Oh, well, get into that. Why? Yeah, get into that. But who did we select?
Josh Johnson. It
Yes,
was
we
the
did.
yeah. And I don't think if the what's funny is by the way,
Tyler, you
Jimmy's
know,
nickname was Trader Jim. When Jim came on, he was our wheeler and dealer. So we were a good fit. And when did we go back, Jim? What year did we meet at the Eagles?
that was we all Eagles. That was like 2001 to
What were we like 21
2004.
then?
Yeah, think about that.
That was good. But
Hey, hey,
yeah,
Dave. I know one thing, Tyler. Back then, I thought I knew everything.
no.
I
Well,
thought I
hey,
knew everything.
we learned. We remember Mark Ross taught us everything according to him. So anyways, yeah. What's funny about Josh? That's Jimmy. Jimmy, once he got on board, we went over to Mike's house and he had to give him all his quarterback rankings. I don't think Mike ever wanted to coach Josh. They just didn't mesh when they met. And Josh is a East Bay guy. What's his cousin's name? The running back from Cal.
Oh yeah, Marshawn Lynch.
Marshawn Lynch. So
Yeah, yeah.
Marshawn Lynch scared the heck out of me on his workout day. But when you meet him, he's a good dude. But Josh is really smart. Owns his own company. Just has a little bit, East Bay type stuff. And I think Mike had a little struggle. But then we're ready to go. And what a week before the season, 2 weeks, the Redskins take him, and we're done. So.
And that was it, Tyler. It was like just like we talk about quarterbacks, everything. That's all we ever talk about, Dave, on this show is about
Yeah.
quarterbacks. And Josh Johnson, it was proven to be the right pick. He couldn't get out of the NFL. I mean, he kept
Yeah.
he kept bouncing around. Good for him too.
God, I think he's played for 8 teams, and he's
He's
backing up.
still
He's the third. He's the third behind Purdy, so I'll still text him about Brock, and he's still going. So
so let's go right into it, Dave, because it's Super Bowl week. We're fired up. Everybody's excited. The Purdy story has been all year long. Dave, for me, it took watching the tape and it sparked me when I kept watching it. And I'm like, holy shit, I haven't watched a quarterback like throw with this anticipation and accuracy since I felt like I was watching Breeze with the Saints when I worked there. And it hit me. I'm like, I remember the way you talked about Breeze back when I was a rookie scout in the NFL. And Michael Vick was the first pick of the draft, and Breeze was the first pick of the second round, I
correct.
believe.
Yeah,
Okay.
correct. You're right.
Now that we'll get into that, how that just can sway your mind. But with Purdy, Dave, where where did it start with you with Purdy? As far how far back do you go with knowing about him, and did you recruit him? I didn't know your years like that.
Yeah, it's funny because even when I was itching to get back to college football, I'd always come out and watch these quarterbacks throw. There's a couple gurus in town, and I had friends. They say, "Come watch my son throw," and he's throwing on Saturday when I was in town. And you're in the NFL now. Now, when I started at Louisville, I couldn't do that legally. You know what I'm saying? But you go to the park, they're there working at the park free anyways. Brock's dad and me met a long time ago, but he was 14 when another former player said, "Hey," Adam Brad said, "Hey, you got to look at this kid. He's going to be special." And then Larry Marmee's grandson played there at the same high school. So I saw Brock play his sophomore year and junior year, and that's when it kind of clicked. I mean, there was 8 quarterbacks that year that were getting recruited. Jack Plummer, Tyler Slow. Slow went to Oregon. Plummer went to Purdue. The kid that went to Oklahoma, he was just at South Carolina.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Spencer
yeah.
Ratliff. Spencer
Rattler got
Ratliff.
MVP of the
And
Senior
it's
Bowl.
funny,
Yep.
Brock's in his second year in the NFL, and all these other guys took 6 years because they're
Dave,
just
that
coming
is
up.
that is crazy. I just got done watching watching
Yeah,
him on tape.
yeah,
I did not know they're the
yeah.
same.
So you can see why Brock, according to gurus, is down because all the other guys had more height, weight, and speed. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
But when you rock Brock play, he played against Chandler High and Hamilton, which are the 2 best programs now in Arizona, and went toe to toe. He's the player of the year his junior year, had as good as year the senior year too. And I sent my quarterback coach out to work him out, and he had fell on a cactus that weekend on his thumb. So it was all swelled up, so he couldn't throw. So I'm like, I'm all in on him. And I says, "Hey, can you come to camp?" So it's going to senior year. He comes out to Cuse, and he lit it up. I mean, there's no doubt. And we get done, and Dino goes, "I don't think he's tall enough, Dave." And I said, "Coach, he's 6'1". I said, Breeze broke that barrier at 6 foot on the button. And that's the reason I think Drew went to the second round. People were scared of the height. Now you got Russell Wilsons of the world, Kyler Murray's, but I mean, you never saw it. But he goes, "Dave, he's the most accurate quarterback I've ever seen." And the kid, to be honest, the parents have raised him so well. He's crying in the back of my car when we don't offer him. The offer's there, but you got to consummate it with the head coach and the quarterback coach. And so I sent him to Louisville to Ronnie Fouch, who's at Arkansas now, was like my assistant plus the graduate assistant who helped teach Lamar Jackson football. I said, "Ronnie, you got to have Bobby look at this kid. This kid can play." Bobby doesn't get over to where he's throwing, give him the time of day. Boom, they're back in Arizona. And the only advice I gave Mr. Purdy was, I go, they had UNLV. I got him on with Jeff Schode at Montana State, who a friend of mine, they're best friends. I said, "Jeff, this kid is, he will light it up." And so I said, I told his dad, "Don't sign on early signing day." It was the first year of early signing. And I said, "It's going to be funny because Jimmy's recruiting Dave, and I'm recruiting Dave from another school. And guess what? Only one of us are going to win." So after December 15th, there's about 15 schools. He got Alabama, A&M, Central Florida. Within a week, he had 20 offers, and the guy hadn't changed. That's what's so funny. I still
No
can't
more
believe
games.
that.
No more
Yeah,
games
no
to
more
play.
games, no all-stars, no combines. And he didn't know what to do. And it's kind of cool. That's the kind of guy Brock is. Iowa State was one of the first that gave him love. And he didn't he wasn't scared of A&M or Alabama, but he wanted to create an environment, a culture, a winning culture. And that's why they're going to love him. I mean, Iowa State, his brother, no, don't go there. You don't ever want to follow those shoes. You know what I mean? So
Oh,
it was a cool story. But as Jimmy said on the Drew Brees thing, at my age, you get scared to come here. But that's, growing up, and I was scouting in Indiana at the time, and I saw Drew play a lot. That's what I thought. I saw the quick feet, the anticipation, as Jimmy said, the accuracy. And then, no, he's not a true dual threat. But if you remember Drew, especially even late in his career, he could move those chains when he got in trouble. And
He was underrated. He could sneak around and
oh yeah,
somehow get 6 or 7 yards
yeah,
that you
and
needed.
he knows when to get down, not to get hurt, and that was Brock, you know.
But Dave, talk about when you have a Breeze at Purdue. What was the talent like around Breeze at Purdue compared
Oh
to the talent that Purdy had at Iowa State? Because I showed you that stat that I looked up there that
yeah,
I actually did
yeah.
on my own. I sent it to you. We never talked about this before.
That
I just,
that
yeah.
was a I remember laughing when you sent it to me, but going back thinking about that because many times I saw like they won a little bit bigger than Iowa State. I can't say Matt Light was a tackle one year. He snuck in the first round, but they didn't. They had a couple tight ends. They had no receivers, no running backs. It really was a system. Joe Tiller, you know, when Tiller got there, they
Oh,
went
yeah.
from nothing. And I love Jim Clettle. They were running offense, and bam. But you know what? I'll give you a quick one on Drew, and Jimmy might remember this. John Goller, who's not with us anymore, we go down. He goes, "Hey, come on." So we're going to go down and watch some senior free agents that didn't go to the combine. Three or four guys, nothing big. And Drew's in the weight room lifting, so it's his junior year. And the dude comes out in the indoor every time we're doing a drill and clapping him on. Just the classiest guy. That's the first time I ever met him. And I go in, and now we're doing the bench, and he's right there cheering on his guys. And I said, "Hey," and Goler asked me, he goes, "What do you think?" I said, "It's going to be the height will get him, if anything." You know what I mean? Because my guy before that was the dude from Iowa State, Seneca Wallace,
Oh, yeah.
who I
Yeah.
could compare to Vic a little bit. Same deal. Seneca was 5'10". But anyways, I go look at Drew. This is a true story. I said, "Hey, do you want to get on the height?" Yeah, I was height, you know, doing the height and weight. You want to get on the chart? And he goes, "My pro day is not for 2 weeks. I still might grow." And just smiled at me. He knew. He knew what was going down with him. You know what I mean? And you know, he just smiled and goes, "That was the funniest comment, though. I still might grow." So
I look at my Super Bowl ring once a day. Just
I
think about
would too, man. You're my idol because I never got one.
it. Yeah, no, I'm not. Our idols all should be Drew Brees. That's
And
what
you
I
know
have.
what a man, you know, like Jimmy said. I mean, Jimmy got to be around him more than me, but it's like, guy, he was only 6 foot on the button, but as a person, the same thing. The success never affected him, just like Brock. You know, they're similar that way.
So then, Dave, this is what I always talk about on the show, and I see it with Purdy and Breeze had this, as you know, but it's the rest of the team when they know that quarterback is preparing and is going to do everything right to win that game. Every other player raises their level,
Yeah.
and that's what they do. People, it's not about necessarily. I'm tired of the whole Cam Newton thing with. I don't want to talk about that, but just because you're not the physical specimen doesn't mean that you aren't the toughest, baddest, most respected player on that team.
No, I
Would
agree.
you
You know,
agree?
I was
Yeah.
blessed. I got to be with Lamar Jackson a couple of years and being around Brock, but they're athletically different, but cut them same old. They're winners, they're leaders.
Yes.
And you know, I love when the 49ers like Kittle's interviewed or even the McCaffrey and they say the first time he stepped on the field, they knew these guys are, you know, talking system and Shanahan's a great coach, but everybody forgets what Montana didn't. Oh, I forgot he didn't have Jerry Rice or Roger Craig back helping him, did he? So you know, it's like what it is. You know, the guy is. That's what kills me is Jimmy. Me have a good mutual friend, Mike McCartney, and Mike's an agent now. He was with, and I asked Mike to represent Brock. I said, he's not going to cost you money. I wanted him with a good agent. And, you know, they're looking at him, they look him up in their little books, which I thought he'd go in the fourth round, to be honest. He went, you know, everybody knows Mr. Level. And nothing is Mike just, you know, they don't want to waste their money. And, you know, Mike hits me a couple months ago, "Man, were you ever right?" No, I mean, but what's funny is all the guy's done is won everywhere he's been, just like Drew Brees. If you're going to produce in high school and college, what makes you don't think you can't produce at the next level? I don't get that. So,
Dave, can you just like bioblast us real quick for people who don't really know? You know,
yeah.
it might take a while, right? But like,
No,
where's
but that's
everywhere you've
kind of the
been, and what kind of
embarrassing
led you
part, you
to?
know. You've bounced around so much. To be honest, I never wanted to be a coach. I started at ASU. Daryl Rogers saw something in me. I wasn't good enough to play like you two studs. I was like a student manager to him. Basically, I would drive Daryl to wherever he needed to go, you know, as a student, but it paid my tuition and books. And one day they go, it's like, I don't know, December 12th, and everybody's off campus, and we got a punter coming in, and they give me $100 for the weekend to show them around, $100 for dinner, and they called that recruiting. I said, I kind of like this stuff, man. This is what I want to do. So that got me on my path. I didn't know you had to evaluate and rank kids. And anyway, so I went on to ASU and I got to work with um, John Cooper, Larry Marmese, like my father, Bruce Snyder. And, at that time in my life, now I'm getting about 30 and I'm seeing scoutings coming in. They used to be old retired coaches. Now it's a little younger crowd. I'm thinking people goes, hey, you need to check that out. So I went to Tampa Bay and Tim Ruskell, I remember coming home from training camp and telling my wife, I said, I don't know if I can do this because it was 2 weeks. Now guys just go on the road. It was 2 weeks of what'd you see here? What'd you do this play? And I'm like guessing, I didn't know that was lower strength or upper strength, whatever. And but anyways, it was good training. And finally, how I met Jimmy, this guy named John Goller had seen me on the road, and I happened to work out 2 kids. It was a freak deal. Yeah, I think I'm a hard worker. I worked them out on a Sunday because it was the only time I could get down to Eastern Kentucky. And Roy Kidd was the head coach at the time, a friend. Well, one of the kids pulled a muscle. So John goes there on Monday. Who worked these guys out on Sunday? And heard Dave Boller. So he kind of started watching me. And when he got the Eagles job, he goes, hey, I want you to be my West Coast scout. Well, my wife had the for sale sign out. Boom, we're gone. And that's how I met Jimmy. And we had some great years. The whole group of us, and John is a good evaluator and hard to work for, but it made me get better. And Tom Odrak, one of the probably most underrated GMs ever. Jimmy, Mark Ross. There's a lot of talent in that room. Mike McCartney, and we built a hell of a roster. Yeah, all of us. And it got said we didn't get to see all the fruits. We never got to see that Super Bowl, and that's sad. But then from there, we all kind of spread out. And I went to the Rams to do pro work. The department never came valid. Then I went to the Lions and I did pro work. And there's something about an 0-16 season that can hurt your career. And from then I was out for a year, went back to the Jets, but I had missed college football. Now you saw how recruiting departments were becoming more like the NFL. So Bobby Petrino and me had been friends for a lot of years, and he goes, hey, can you come to Louisville? And shoot, I mean, I hadn't been there in 10 years. I just jumped in the car and was there, and great couple years. And then Dino Babers, a friend, he got to Syracuse. Hey, can you come up and help? And I went there sight unseen. I'd never been on Syracuse's campus. When we were at the Eagles, it was always Jimmy and Mark going to those. They wouldn't let me go east. They didn't want me to get corrupted, or they thought I'd get lost.
No,
But
you thought the Northeast was what'd you say? Angry. No,
yeah,
salty.
Salty. Yeah, that's what you see. But I've never seen those skyscrapers you got there. But anyways, I would have never, and it was good because me and Jimmy hooked up again. But the AF started and they kept calling, and it was a 3-year contract. Not it's like a general manager like Jimmy got to taste at Buffalo, but it was picking our own team, so but I believed in that 3 years, else I would have never left Hughes. Now I've been on the springboard circuit for 3 years, so
and
that's
you
where
enjoy it with the Battlehawks?
Yes, yeah, Battlehawks, and I was with there's another. Besides Mike Martz, we had a great staff. Anthony Beck, who's my head coach now, was Jimmy and me's tight end, and Jimmy saw the same thing I saw him. A really smart, organized coach, and he's done a heck of a job. Eric Allen was our defensive back coach. Larry Marmie at 75 was our defensive coordinator, and of course the fastest, or what do you call it, the fastest show on turf, Mike Martz, and it was fun. It was crazy, wasn't it, Jim? But it was fun.
Man, it was fun. It was one of the most unique. Can't even believe we got to experience something like that. Really, see when you look back on it.
Yeah, I think Jimmy and me got fired every other day, so it just depends how practice went.
I can remember Mike Martz coming in, shutting the door. It was just the three of us, and looking at the two of us and saying, "Who's responsible for these receivers that we have on this team right now?" And we're just staring at each other. Well, it was
training camp. It was training camp.
Well, we know who's responsible. The two of us.
Yeah, I think Jimmy had to trade out.
Yeah, I think Mike Martz. I don't know how happy he was on that. I know this about him though, Dave. What I noticed on that offense with Mike Martz and in the AAF, and I know it rang true back in St. Louis too when you guys had your glory run. But we had guys open all the time down the field. But our quarterbacks got destroyed in the AAF. And I'm not blaming, I'm just saying, but I could see the concepts that he had, that you always heard
It's
about.
it's that 7 yard drop. It even killed Warner. You just don't see it much, and even in the NFL, it's hard. But our league, well, what as what Berkovich, the first game is like the show everybody's
That's the
seen on
most famous
ESPN.
play from that league.
Yeah, but yeah, Jimmy had to change out 4 wideouts in one night, and believe it or not, I don't know how he did it. He got 2 or 3 were coming off practice squads, so we the roster we went from bam to bam. We looked respectable, better and respectable. So
Hey, so Dave, all right, let's get back to. I want to hear more about a little bit about Lamar Jackson and your years with him at Louisville. What was your involvement at the time? Was he there when you got there?
I was getting there when we were finishing recruiting, and the deal with Lamar is when I watched him, it was you knew it was special, but it was the thing was did it? It's just like Brock. I thought Brock's been. Does anybody think you're going to be the MVP of the league or Heisman Trophy? I've never been. That was special, but the thing about Lamar was how did someone question kind of like height that he couldn't play quarterback just because you saw the flash plays from Pop Warner high school, but that's all Bobby did, stayed the course, and Lamar Thomas was the area recruiter in Miami, did a great job. Lamar had a good relationship with him, and most quietest kid in the world, but competitor, unbelievable. I mean, you'd go in and like on doing a campus visit, and you go up to the rec center, and there's some guy dunking. I'm like, dude, don't be playing basketball. We got spring ball in a month. But that was why we got him. We were the only school that really said, "Yeah, we're going to give you that fair chance at quarterback." And what's funny? We walked out the practice field, I think day 2, and it was like everyone was like, "Really?" There's no question. I mean, it. He had a lot to learn and polish up, but it was no question the guy could play quarterback. And all he did to walk in, he goes, "Hey, I want 7." I said, "That's Reggie Donovan," and he started at quarterback the year before as a freshman and beat Notre Dame. Because that's my number. But you know what? He took 8, never said a word. He was respectful, but he knew his time would come. So
It's
Dave,
unbelievable with Lamar Jackson. I can just remember watching some of those Louisville games thinking, of course the NFL will tank for this guy. Of course he'll be a high pace. I don't care that it looks different than anything we've really ever seen. He's obliterating these defenses. It's just,
what
God, why do
started
you
what put him on the map was probably your guys' game. I mean, as a freshman, I mean that one where he jumped over the player, but I mean
right?
he threw for 550. It was some abnormal element. It was 500 yards, but it would have been another 100. We had 3 or 4 open drops because everybody's sweating in the dome. It was in September and at night
Right,
game.
Carrier Dome, but the Carrier
Oh,
air conditioning company does it. It's
yeah.
not
I mean,
exactly making it cool in there.
I mean, the funny thing too is, as you heard me and Jimmy talk about Mark Ross. Mark happened to be down at the Chick-fil-A game, and I'm on the field, and I go, "You see that guy there?" And we're pointing to 8. I said, "He's going to be special." Again, how do you know it's going to be a Brock Purdy or Heisman Trophy? And the best thing is the first play of the game is a reverse, and he throws a pick. Yeah. So his first pass was an interception in his college career. But nothing bothers Lamar. He, I mean, it was fun to be around. I don't think he ever thought he was out of a game. He could take hard coaching. He was a great teammate. Probably led by his action more than words. But towards the end, you could see him getting vocal, and I see him on TV now. It's pretty impressive. Like you get what he say in the one game, his last game they won to get in the championship game. He goes, I couldn't repeat those words what were said. They weren't right or something. But he's good.
where are you at with him? Like, what did you think of that game, the Baltimore game?
I have to give your man McDermott or no Spags credit because they got after him. Now I don't know why Lamar didn't run more that game. I think that would have helped, but I wish I would have loved to see him just because the Chiefs have been in it all the time. I'd love to see in a Raven 49er game. That would have been pretty cool. But the detractors like we talk about Lamar. I mean, when he came out, same deal as Brock Purdy, not good enough. How many people didn't think Lamar could play quarterback? And I said, look at his career percentage. It was 59, which, yeah, you wish it was 60 to 65, but he was in a vertical offense. Bobby's vertical. He's not that dink and dunk bubble screen stuff. We go downtown. And when you throw 34 touchdowns and 5 picks and you think you're inaccurate, I don't get that, and run for another 1,000. It's like it's special, you know what I mean? And I wish he wouldn't run as much either, and I think he's getting better with that. But there were so many people that didn't. Look how many teams passed on it. It was crazy.
The Ravens
Take it.
did.
Yeah, yeah, and got back in. They were at least smart.
I talk about that probably once a month episode. I still nobody talks enough about that they did not draft Lamar. Like you would think if you valued a quarterback, you're running to the table to get Lamar.
Yeah,
They must have been nobody really comes out and says it, but they were scared about something.
something. I think everybody was the same. And I mean, it was Jim knows Coach Harbaugh like I do, and I sent him a note. And what's his name was the who was our Andy's buddy, our OC at one year, head coach of the Lions. We had Marty Morningway was the quarterback coach that year, and I sent him both notes. And all John said, yeah, after the minicap, oh, he's better than even we thought. You know what I mean? Once he got him there, so.
Did you see what about like with Donovan McNabb coming out of Syracuse when you were scouting with Philly compared with Lamar? Was it similar in terms of how they could just dominate a league?
Yeah, I wish because where Lamar was at, you guys got to see him more. But I saw him play, I think, against Michigan. Yeah, he could take over a game, and with his legs or his arm.
But were there concerns like Lamar for Donovan?
It was. I know. Between me and yeah, I think learning was always going to be a concern. Especially
Yeah.
Bobby's offense. But like I said, what Coach was so good, and you're hoping he's ready to start, and he only started maybe 3 games as a true fresh, but he played in almost every one. But Ronnie met with him every hour or every morning for an hour extra just to get him up to speed. And Auburn game we fall behind, and I remember Gary McGee, the OC at the time, with Bobby, and go, okay, you're starting the second half. If your first reason out there, run. And you know what? We have 2 more minutes left on the clock. We come back and beat them. So we just ran out of time. So it was crazy. He pulled it off.
Auburn
Like I
has
said, I've never seen a game that he's been out of. So
Auburn has a national championship based on that. If that first reason out there running,
they do. They do.
Honestly, I mean, as much as we all want Lamar Jackson to operate from the pocket in the playoffs,
why?
I'm watching that Chiefs game and he seemed hesitant. Like,
Yeah,
when do
like
I
they told
run?
him
When
not
do
to
I not run? You just want to say, go, just be
Yeah,
you.
the weather was good. I don't get it, man. And the one, when you saw the one replay, he actually had twice as much time as some of the other, and he was running. I don't get it. Like I said, until he wins it, his critics will always be there. That's sad.
It's tough. When I rewatched that game and the next day, he didn't play as bad as initially it seemed.
Yeah.
I mean, Zay Flowers, come on, let's be. You got to be a champion. If you want to be a champion, you got to play, and act like one. All the cliches. It's true.
He didn't throw it the best his first half. He was like just
No.
throwing guys, but he was
whole
just missing, and they were long balls. I mean, but
I didn't like the way they came out. They didn't look like the way the Chiefs came out and just were rattling off plays. Boom, boom, boom.
Baltimore's defense didn't help him. I mean,
not until
but
the second half.
Someone said you hold Mahomes to 16, you should win. But I didn't see that dominating defense ever. I thought Kansas City's defense dominated that game. So
go back to so where were you when you kind of developed this relationship with the Purdys again? And how did that kind of come to be?
I was always, I always come back home. And
that's Arizona State, right? Arizona State.
Yeah.
Okay.
My years, I went to Arizona State, then worked there till 95. But just always coming home, and I love Arizona high school football. And it kills me today, when people are recruiting, and I'd love to get a trust. You hear about it, and I'm like, I think they think I'm too old or because of my gray hair. But kids, they're young men. They'll relate to you as long as you're true. And with our NFL background, I've tried to encourage Jimmy to go the college way. We know how to get people to the league, and they crave that stuff. Yeah, now there's NIL money, but when you say, hey, I know the path to get you there, that's what those kids want. Yeah, I'm going to get you a college degree, but boom, I'm going to help you get to the NFL. And trust me, I know how to do that. And Brock was so grounded, though. He just, I mean, come on, for an Arizona kid, he was ready to come to Syracuse and didn't care about nothing.
That's incredible that he was devastated.
And I'm going through it right now, guys. You talk about Purdy fever, people jump on the wagon and podcast or news, every day there's something in the paper. It's funny, in Arizona with all of our traditions, Danny Whites of the world, Mike Pagels, I'm going to throw names out, that grew up in Arizona, Fitzpatrick. This is the first guy who started at quarterback ever that came from Arizona. So that's huge for this state. He didn't win a Heisman, but it's so that's cool. But I don't know. He's just. It was just probably a lot from people who saw him grow up. And Queen Creek's a different area. It's a newer area in Arizona, new high schools. And I know a lot of those coaches. They said, "Hey, man, this guy's special," and he was. But like I said, there was probably 5 quarterbacks rated ahead of him that year. That's all Division I offers. Yeah, and he turned out the best. It's crazy.
When did you realize he was special? Like you yourself with your scouting eye, was there a moment? It
Yeah,
was
like
man.
Jimmy talked about, I thought he reminded me of Drew Brees, and I didn't get to see Drew Brees in high school, but real similar. And you're looking at the way he played. He could use his legs, smart, that poise. Everybody talks about that it factor. I don't think that they got it to you around him, and to see it every day. Well, that to me, I mean, he just really handled himself. I mean, you look at him now, he looks like a 19-year-old to me. You know what I mean? When he gets interviewed, but he hasn't changed. But very calm, poised. The stage was never too big for the kid. So
Not good enough for Syracuse, though.
yeah,
Not good enough.
the best one was, guys. I don't know if you caught Coach Edwards on ESPN saying, "Oh yeah, we recruited him, but he went to Iowa." Well, you got both those a little wrong. They never recruited him, and he went to Iowa State. So, it's kind of hilarious. And when I didn't get him, L. Luganbill was doing the recruiting. Tommy's dad, who was my first defense coordinator, I told Coach, I said, "You need to look at this guy, man. You shouldn't let him get out of the state. He can play." But it's me, and where's all these other schools at not offering him? And I think the quarterback coach at ASU at the time, like, nah, he's not big enough. So I know Coach Luganbill liked him, but it usually takes more than one person to get that thing hammered home, just like it hurt me.
So that's what Dino Babers thought too, just not big
Yeah,
enough.
and I love Dino. We got a great relationship. That one we didn't agree on. Yeah, said I said he's 6'1". I remember saying it over and over to him, and then a year later, 2 years later, I'm back on campus for a game. And he goes, you were right about Purdy, but I'd still take DeVito. And I like Tommy DeVito. But I'm like, no, don't do that to me. So, anyways.
You should give him a call now.
Yeah, exactly. And
Still rolling with
I'm
DeVito.
glad to see Tommy have some success this year.
Yeah,
Good
I
for
was
him.
going to say, yeah, he was.
You know,
it's amazing. I love those stories because I think a lot of people like Herm try to rewrite history a little bit, right? Like just now everybody's in the Super Bowl, everything's a big celebration. Well, let's remember how it really was at
yeah,
that point.
and I'm sitting there. I went back to ASU a year ago when we didn't know the XFL was going to go again, and I was brought there to clean up the mess. Well, he's still the head coach, and the Chuba Purdy thing. That's Brock's little brother. Not to get sideways, but Chuba's coming off, and I even told Dino then. I said, this kid is probably not his brother, but he's bigger. He's got a more live arm, and he is a dual threat. This is the guy you could see zone reading with at 6'2". And he started the last 3 games this year at Nebraska. He outruns everybody for 70 yards with a pulled groin. So he's a 4'6" guy, where his brother's a 4'8" guy. His brother just has that, knack of getting. Anyways, so Herm, the kid goes over one time on an unofficial visit. So there was an article written the other day in the paper about how hard they recruited him. And I said, wait a minute. I did someone, I said, I didn't say who I was. Says, when you're recruiting a person hard, you go to his school and do a campus visit. You see him throw at a game. You have him at many unofficial visits, basketball games or football, junior days, whatever, home visits. I said, this kid came on ASU's campus once on his own. Never got a phone call from anybody. And 2 weeks before the kid's announcing and he went to Florida State, I called up ASU and said, a Zoom call or a call from you guys, this kid doesn't want to leave the state. He really wanted to play at ASU. Quote, we've done all the talking we have. We're done talking to Chuba Purdy. There was never a phone call to him once. The talking was when he was in the building. And that's where you like, really? And, how do you say that crap? So, you know,
Man.
yeah. So the
That's why we have you here, man. That's why we have you
family's
here.
loyal
Bring the truth.
Arizona, but both schools, both U of A and ASU, screwed up on both kids because they both should have never left.
Everybody's got to cover their ass, right? Get your
Yeah.
story straight. Get it straight.
Oh, you saw
And it
Matt
kills
Rule.
me. Like I said, I don't want to ever say, "Oh yeah, Dave was right." I'm like Jimmy said, we've all had our misses, but I feel I've always pretty good about certain positions, and you just got to be careful. Like who is the highest grade on McNabb? I won't lie, I like McNabb. I had Achilles Smith right there too, but I know I had Cade McNown in the fourth round, and I'll stay by that to this day. But there's different factors why guys fail, but you knew there's no reason Brock with the way the whole 9 yards, when you do the character, when you see everything he is, it's just, there's no way he wasn't going to fail at the college level. Now, did I think he'd be a starting quarterback his second year? I did tell many coaches and GMs, I said, this kid, if he can't start, he'll be a greatest backup he ever had, that type. But you why shouldn't he start? You just don't lose. Like, how many rookies do you hand the keys from day one, So
That's the one thing that gets lost in this Purdy story is this is his first full-time season. Like
isn't that crazy?
I just feel like that we usually go crazy on any rookie.
Yeah.
We go over like CJ Stroud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we went over the top on him, and rightfully so, the way he played this year. But
Had a great year.
It's not that off from.
God, does he look like a young one too when you see him play? Oh my God.
It's Dave. It's like
But you know what? Ryan Leaf didn't win a damn game. I think Peyton did. I mean Troy, all of them. I mean, and so this guy had a little bit surrounding cast, but for him to come in, and it's not like they were just handing the ball off to get out of a game, So
Dave, what about wait? We have to bring up one quarterback that we talked. Tyler has a good history with Aaron Rodgers. Where did you have him coming out with Alex Smith that whole draft? Do you remember?
Yeah, I do. And we just talked about this because remember, I had Clay Welch, not to go off, a guy who played at Syracuse when Tommy got hurt. Should have played a lot more. Clay's from the same town, same JUCO, broke Aaron's records, and I get him. No one's recruited Clay. I was freaking nature. I had a friend, just you use friends. If Jimmy said, go look at this, I looked. We needed a guy to back up Dungy, just in case Eric got another kind. So he's ready to go, and we still played, the fifth-year senior instead of going with Clay. But Clay got to play a lot at Cuse and got a degree. But he just walked in the house the other night, and we started laughing. And I said, this is my Aaron Rodgers. But I had Aaron behind Alex. None of them should have been one. Like Alex was one. He was really like, I'm not saying Aaron should have been 20, whatever he went, but you know how you get pushed up if there's none. They were the only two. But I did have Alex ahead of Aaron just because he was running that Utah offense. And I think he ran, you'd have to check me. It was over 800 yards his junior year. And his high school tailback was, what's your Saints back from SC?
Reggie?
Yeah, Reggie Bush was his high school running back. How about that at Helix High School? Anyways, I loved Alex Smith, but that running part, I'm like, damn. And then when you watched Rodgers, he never ran. I don't even remember scrambles like you see in the league. And he's a hell of an athlete. So that was probably my only difference, And we had left the Eagles at this time, and I remember getting called out in the meeting, and the one scout goes, oh, he's assistant guy. And I went, and Tommy Chang ain't? You know what I mean? He was coming out of Hawaii. And they're killing me for having a first-round grade on Alex Smith, And you know what? For the longest time, he's one of those guys you're watching like, oh, shit, maybe I was a little high. But you know what? He came back and Andy got to KC. I feel a lot better about life. So, but you know what? You never saw him run in the NFL. I hardly ever. And then you see Aaron running, getting first downs like Brett Favre almost, So
he ran against those Saints, though, in the divisional round of the playoffs for pretty big play, Jim. Sorry about that.
That's right.
I mean, that is all-time gross loss.
Yeah.
Can you go back, though, to 99? So you were in the room, I'm guessing, when the Eagles and Andy Reid and all you guys take McNabb. I mean, was it slam dunked, no doubt about it, this is the guy? Or were there some strong voices for a Cade McNown?
No, Andy had just came in the building, and I remember John teasing me. He goes, "Hey, you want to, what do you call it? National Change Your Grade Day, Jimmy?" And he goes, "You want to change that grade? When you're a scout, you don't do the whole country. You don't know what's everywhere." And John goes, "Dude, Cade McNown's going in one." I'm like, wow. The only discussion with really, I think everybody was in agreement. I would say Achille was second on their board, but there was never that much talk. It was always him. It was if you're going to take the running back. That was the pressure.
Oh, Ricky Will, yeah, it was Ricky.
Yeah, and to be honest, if you remember, we had Edrin ahead of him. No one's ever going to believe that because John made me go back and look at, oh, you could do it on play by plays. How many fumbles and how many fumbles lost Ricky had, and it was a lot. Hands were real small, and he was a weird dude. But Edrin was a little different too, coming from the Glades in Miami, and they both were on their visits. It was different, but it was always McNabb, and I think Tom Modrak did a great job making sure the quarterback coach and the OC and Andy, everybody felt comfortable. And I think he was a unanimous pick. I don't remember, and I'm sure they didn't, tell us because it's supposed to be such a secret to 2 days before, oh, it is going to be McNabb. But it was, I remember me and Mark and probably Jimmy, there was never where you said, oh shit, they're going to go running back. No, we never felt that. And trust me, we got pelleted for taking it. It was abusive. So, and
I mean, we all remember it. We remember,
we warned Donovan he's going to get booed. I mean, the mayor gave out our number 800 number and had fans calling in to tie up our numbers about you're stupid if you don't take the running back. It was crazy.
What's the reaction like in that room if you're around people you
feel sorry for the kid on his biggest day and he's getting booed. Welcome to the city of brotherly love, But that's another kid as Jim, the character, pretty impeccable, leadership, has that leader, what can you say? I mean, just a great guy, and to handle that's huge. So yeah, we got lucky. It's really you got to be lucky, and he was there at the right time.
Dave, is there a true freshman that you can remember as a college true freshman when you saw him? You're like, he doesn't need to be here much longer. Like physically, he's ready to play. Like,
yeah, it be out of a lot of positions, but it had to be 8.
I'm just asking about anybody in general.
No, but Lamar, you knew, you just
right away
when he got it. Yeah, the arm was special. I mean, the arm's a damn cannon, and they kill him on his accuracy. I never had a problem with the accuracy at all. But the things I remember, we played the bowl game against A&M, and it was one of the best halves of football I've ever seen. And I remember I looked at someone, you can't teach this shit, and I said, he will be on the cover US Today by week 4. He'll be in the Heisman hunt. And it was week 2 the next year. And I remember Bobby telling me after the game, we're just talking. And I said, what was the deal? Why was the first half? Did you pull? Because we were beating the crap out of him. And all of a sudden we let him get close, He goes, no, I didn't pull nothing off. He goes, Lamar is really good at staying attentive for a half. And then he kind of loses focus. And that's where the maturity and the grown-up part came the next year, to glue in on a whole half and had that great first half. Second half, he thinks he can just be in high school and let it go. Ain't happening with what was the guy's name? The Miles, the defense end for the Browns, chasing his ass around the field. So, yeah. Jair Alexander and him on that same team, you could see, I would never thought Jair was going to go ahead of him. But you could see Jair being special too as a freshman. I didn't know how tough he was. And then year 2, he proved that to me. Special player too, but I didn't know how physical he was going to be. And, he talked a little bit, man, the smack became more sophomore year, but he backed it up for as small as he is. He'd come up and buzzsaw you now. So, yeah, one of my favorite movies ever. Yeah.
I think the best comparison I've heard for Jair Alexander is Sean Avery. Remember the hockey player for the Rangers?
Yeah.
Just a gnat. Just pissing you off. You hate to play against him. Was that Jair Alexander?
Yeah. And what he did with that coin toss didn't make sense because Ross called me on it when he went out for that coin toss and he wasn't supposed to be out there in overtime.
Right.
But him and his roommate, Jimmy Smith's son, Trey, they roomed together at Louisville, and they would put on one TikTok time, just, the things on the internet, on Instagram, of them dancing or doing something in their apartment. And one day Jair's doing his own, how you get from campus to your apartment without getting wet without an umbrella. Just they were just comedians, man. I mean, they were hilarious. So yeah, the special guys, man.
How much do you love this, Dave? I mean, like you've been around for years and years. I mean, how do you balance? We talk about this a lot too, and I remember asking Joe Shane this last year when for that story. Like, I'm fascinated by the work life balance of somebody
Yeah,
that's a scout. Like, how in the hell do you do it all?
I think what keeps me going is, like when you had Andre Schmidt, the kicker from Syracuse, there's my first grouse, but knowing I still got to talk to his mother every week, and I've been gone for how long, but it's those relationships, you know what I mean? And you're kind of stuck. Jawar Jordan's come out of Louisville. His mother calls me coach to this day, and they're not calling the Louisville coach. And I got to explain that I can't help him all the time, you know what I mean? But it's that type of stuff, Clay Welch showing up at your doorstep, or seeing a Lamar Jackson, on TV, and Brock. That's cool. And, you have those relationships with the guys forever. And I wish we'd go back to where the money wasn't such a big deal, because it made it a lot more fun. Now you're paying kids way too much money, and then they don't play and they transfer, and everybody thinks the portal's good. Well, most of the guys are in that for a reason, because they weren't good enough or they can't start where they're at. And there's just no continuity, and it's sad, but I crave it because I want to be, I don't want to, I want to compete with the best. And this doing the XFL and UFL have been great, making your own team. It's very rewarding, but
Yeah.
I want to go. Hey, why? I'll go find. Like, I wanted to go to Vanderbilt 2 years ago when I interviewed. I said, I'll find you a Cutler. That's where I get excited about. I'm going to find the guy that is under the radar, and all of a sudden, after 2 years, they're going to want to pay him $1 million. Not that guy. Like, no offense, Don Riolo, whose dad's a friend of ours. Who's getting money before his junior year. Those types. I like that part.
Yeah.
You're always the underdog, but man, and Coach Stoops told me that when I worked with him. He goes, Dave, you're at Oklahoma, you just got another set of problems. It's different than Louisville, but you're going to have other problems. And I get it. But, I see it's gone a lot younger. I had someone tell me the other day about recruiting and, being a grinder on the phone. And I said, recruiting, that's just, there's the evaluators and there's recruiters. I feel I'm good at both, but, there's a way to talk to people on the phone and get them to trust you. The parents, the kids, when you have them on campus, and knowing you're not a bullshitter, and I have that gift, I think, and it's sincere, you know what I mean? I mean, I care about it, and I think I can help make a difference or help them, and that's part of what was the part of college football I loved. It's probably why
I
I'm
do
still
wonder
going.
if, if good people, good coaches are going to be leaving college football in droves soon. I mean, you're starting to see it a little bit just because they don't like where this NIL stuff's going.
Yeah,
You've got, obviously Saban, but even Jeff Halfley, right? At
yeah,
Boston
yeah. I,
College,
I
he
would have
takes the
thought.
DC job with Green Bay.
Yeah, 3 or 4 years ago, I was thinking, like I talked to Jimmy about it, and about, hey, I don't like the general manager title in college, but hey, go get it, and that's what it's going to. But 3 years ago, you saw it was going the right way, and it was probably a lot of the coaching jobs might be better besides the recruiting a little longer, but they pay as much as the NFL or not more. They're doing personnel departments, but now when this thing hit, yeah, I don't know. I could see, like you're saying, why mess with this crap? I think something's going to change. The presidents will get together and they're going to have to put a salary cap on it. And it's just like our league. If you don't want to play for $5,500, don't play. Go to Canada. No one can say, oh man, no, that's what we got to offer. And I think when the college presidents come up with something, hey, you don't have to play college football unless you're going to play for this. And that needs to happen sooner than later, but we'll see.
What do you got, Jim?
No, I mean, we could go
Hey,
on for days. I
hold
mean,
on.
it's like,
Let me give you one more quick one. Jimmy might remember this one. This might be my all-time best. I'm sitting here at ASU in '93, and we had just signed Jake. And again, kind of like a Lamar Jackson.
Jake Plummer. I'm going to
Yeah,
fill.
yeah,
Sometimes
Jake
I
Plummer.
got to
Okay, I'm
try to
sorry, Jake
drop
Plummer.
last
Hey,
names. I got
that was Hugh Jackson, Bruce Snyder, Don Bakke, Dave Boller. It just almost takes a village to recruit some of these guys. But I'll say this again: Jake was third on our list, but that was the first time I ever had a quarterback camp, and that was Bobby Petrino's idea. We had 100 quarterbacks, but guess what? We forgot to have receivers. So we got quarterbacks. So that I learned something that first year. We're gonna have a quarterback come. Better make it a receiver camp too. But anyways, that's how we found Jake. And David Phelan went to Notre Dame, and the other kid went to Cal. That's the only reason we got Jake Plummer. Unanswered prayers. But the next year, Jake plays as a freshman. Joey Germain is at my high school, kind of like a same thing as a Brock Purdy. He's a junior, going to be a senior. He's playing at my high school. Ran a veer, threw for 1,200, ran for 800, returned punts, free safety. I have Rod Marinelli me go watch him, and I've already offered the fullback linebacker. He's the state player of the year, and I lost him to BYU because he was LDS and the mom killed me. But anyway, so I don't like losing. But anyway, so Marinelli's with me. He goes, Dave, this kid's pretty good. I said, Coach, he's a winner. And I said, if he washes out at quarterback, the kid at $190 can play free safety. And we had Nathan LeDuc at the time, who was an All-American. So, anyways, we get to there. Bruce won't promise him that he can play quarterback for at least a year. I said, Coach, that's all you got to do, and he's ours. And I'm like, so anyways, they go to junior college. He doesn't start the first game. They wins the next 9, whatever the JUCO championships out here. So I go in again to Coach Snyder and Coach Petrino. I said, come on, let's get him. Well, what about Jake? I said, we redshirt him. He has 2 years when Jake's gone. And it's a no-brainer to me, but I don't maybe see the whole picture. I'm a young college recruiter. Somehow Ohio State's looking at an offensive lineman there, and the head coach comes out, hey, you need to look at this quarterback. They don't know who Joe Germain is. He goes to Ohio State. I quit ASU, go to scouting. I walk in the building one day and I asked Coach Coop, I said, how's my man Joey doing? I don't think he's good enough, Dave. I said, I think I'm going to send him to Eastern Kentucky. I said, really? And to get a kid hurt in spring ball, Joey moves up to 2, rest is history. The nut of the story is Jake's leading the ASU 12-0 at the Rose Bowl, and Joe Germain beats us. He should have never been there. It would have been our only national title. And that one, you talk about one getting away that kills you. I was so happy for Joe, and we still talk to this day, but how about that? And no one's ever said, no one's ever wanted to talk about, who beat us. You know what I mean?
So Dave, you didn't try to get in with Harbaugh out there in LA?
I didn't, I was kind of waiting until the temperatures went down. I did text him congrats, and we visited after the championship game, but he hasn't hit me yet since he's there. So I'll see. It sounds like he has his mind where he's going with everybody, and I just always was wondering. Yeah, I'm sure it'll be interesting how they go down there.
Dave, he hired Joe Ortiz as his GM. I don't know if you knew Joe.
You guys, Mark and you talked about him. Must be a good dude.
So my very first scouting experience as an intern in Philly. Okay, when we were working together.
I remember, yeah.
I went to Millersville's Pro Day, Division II school in Pennsylvania. They had 2 wide receivers, DeAndre Gilliam and Sean Scott. I'd seen them play because I went to Bloomsburg. They played the same conference. Right. I just graduated, and you guys hired me as an intern. So I had talked to Mark about this Sean Scott, and I said, "Can I go to this Pro Day? They have 2. It's a local. They're an hour and a half down the road. So go with Dave Doherty." He was doing the Northeast. He knew about him. He was doing the Northeast too. So he's like, let's go work him out. The only other 2 people that were there were Joe Ortiz and Chad Alexander, who Joe just hired as his assistant GM for LA. Wow. That was my very first pro day. And we signed Sean Scott for no money.
I remember you signed Sean.
And he made our practice squad.
Yeah. He was good. Do you still stay in touch with Ortiz?
Not enough.
Yeah. I was surprised. I thought
maybe I'll send him a clip of that story. And see
you should.
There you go.
I was surprised he didn't. Tommy Gamble ain't there because That's weird.
Tom, long time vet, everything, personnel,
Yeah,
college,
he's
NFL.
been with Jim a
Yeah.
long time, and I get John's influence on this, but that had to hurt Tommy a little bit, I would think.
Well, the Harbaughs believe in scouting personnel like we all do,
Yeah,
and I love that about them. They know that's where it's at.
yeah, yeah. They're smart. They
They
listen.
are.
Yep.
All right, so Dave, final a prediction: Purdy, Mahomes. Who we got?
Dude, I believe with my heart. I got to go with Purdy, man. Got to go for the upset. I wanted to ask you. You guys said you talked about who's your pick.
Tyler, go ahead.
I mean, I'm just drinking that Mahomes Kool-Aid,
Hard
drunk
not
off
to.
it. I don't see how he loses this game
Hard not to, man.
at all.
How
Yeah.
about you, Jimmy?
I'm torn to pieces. I'm not. I just don't have. I
You
just.
got Drew Brees coming out of you, baby.
I'm taking the 49ers, and I hate it. But
Really?
here's why, Dave. I took Josh Allen against Mahomes. Nope. I took Lamar. Nope. So I got to do it at this point. Now I'll
I'm
take
like
Brock.
you. I took. I thought your Bills guy would do it, and I thought Lamar for sure would. But you know, the difference maker for me is who's that running back? Hey, he's been unbelievable in the playoffs. I mean, he
Pacheco.
looks
Yeah.
he looks
Isaiah
like a
Pacheco.
little shit, and all he does is run over and around people, man. He's talking about moving the chains at the right times, man.
Yeah.
He's
Imagine
been
the kind of pain he's in after a game.
oh.
My God.
Did you see McCaffrey's picture? Like after in the regular season, his bruises. Oh, shit. No
I
wonder.
talked about before on the show. Go into a locker room after a game. It's not a good sight. Tyler, you've been, but go into the training room. It's a different sight. The
Yeah,
guys
no
that are,
wonder running backs don't last long. You know what I mean? That's just
oh, it's just
That's what
hard.
makes McCaffrey so impressive. He's in what, year 7?
yeah.
And this is his best season. He looks great.
Probably like if Lamar would have got robbed of the Heisman, that one when he didn't get it his junior year, whatever that I think it was his sophomore year because he came out as junior. That was highway robbery. His year was incredible. Returns, receptions, and runs. It was by far. I've never seen a guy put it together like that. Sad.
This is phenomenal, Dave. I mean, we can't thank you enough for sharing
I
all
could
these
be,
stories.
I could be
Really
on all day with
appreciate
you
you.
guys. Thank you for having me. Always good to see you. Good to meet you. Go Cuse and Orange, and hey, make sure you guys send me an email when I can watch every week. Okay, I'm a
Oh,
fan.
hell yeah. You're welcome back anytime.
I'll send you guys. Don't worry, you're going to get some Battlehawk hats soon in the mail. As soon as I get mine, you'll get yours, and better be sporting them. All right. Hey,
Absolutely,
get
man. That
Matt on
place
your
was
show.
rocking last year.
If you want to have fun, ask Jimmy, man. Get Anthony on. He does this stuff. I love this and radio. I don't like TV as much because this I feel comfortable here, but Anthony likes it all. But he's got yeah.
I
So
like that. We'll get Anthony on here. Talk
he's
tight
good.
ends.
Yeah. All right,
Tyler
guys. I
did a whole book
appreciate
on
it.
Definitely.
him.
Good luck,
Thanks so
man.
much,
Thank
Dave.
you.
Thanks, Dave. Talk to you, man.
Yep. Appreciate y'all.